loud or too? Okay. All right, welcome to the February 2023 meeting. Emerald Ship Society. Obviously, Greg is not here today, and as first mate, I'm acting as skipper today. So I will try and muster through this. We got a few things to talk about. First off, regarding the minutes of last month, my apologies to Melville. I'll just leave it at that. Do we have any guests present today in-house? How about online? Oh, those are all familiar faces. How you guys doing today? What are you doing there, Hank? Why aren't you in here?
I had to have emergency heart bypass surgery early last month, so I can't travel yet. And then they damaged me when I was in the hospital, so now I've got these other things to get over too.
I hope you're on the mend. We can join us
Yeah.
soon.
Yeah, the heart stuff I am, the other stuff I'm not. But yeah, I hope to be there. Probably gonna be a couple more months.
All righty. John, I see you're hiding at home too. Very good. All righty. Any other changes to the minutes last month? Okay, moving right along. Tim requested that he go in the traditional order for his presentation. So we're gonna kind of revert back to our old ways for today. And, yeah, and if it really pains everybody, we can discuss the order of meetings on a more permanent basis. All righty. Mr. Ron, online.
Yes. Hello.
So, have you joined us before? Ron, can you hear us?
Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Have you joined us before?
No, this is my first Zoom in.
Very good. Well, welcome to the Zoom meeting. As a guest, would you mind introducing yourself?
Of course. I'm Ron Nielsen. I'm a member, secretary for the newly elected secretary for the Philadelphia Ship Model Society. And prior to that, I was with the Connecticut Club for about 10 years. And I'm an active ship modeler, and I know some of you people there, and I've known Ryland for many years. And right now, I am coming to you from Belize. I'm sitting on the dining room building deck outside by the water on holiday.
Oh, very good. Yeah, we can hear a little bit of the wind rustling through your mic there.
Oh, okay.
Well, we can hear you loud and clear.
Yeah, I'll have to turn off my mic. Hold on a second. Can I do that? Yes, I can do that. I got.
All right, very good.
Yeah, I'll mute.
Welcome, and hope to see you in the future.
Okay.
All righty. Minutes. Any old business? I know we have a bunch of old things. Yeah, let's do the treasurer's report first. Yeah, no, this sheet I have is all out of order, so I'm accommodate the new order.
All right, the treasurer's report, we started the month off with $4,298.50. We had auction proceeds of $63 and no other receipts. We had disbursements for deposit slips. I had to order a minimum order of 200, which was $59.09. And that leaves us an ending balance of $4,302.41.
Great. Okay, our old business. we have elections coming up. So let's start out with that. Nominations were made last month, and on the slate was myself, Bob, and Stewart, and Ryland. And as such, these were elected positions, and I guess since I'm acting skipper today and also current clerk, if there will be any further discussions on the matter, I will cast one vote for my slate. Any objections? All righty. Welcome to the club.
Supreme dude.
Yes. The ultimate supreme dude. All righty. And then next month, I will take duties and finish up Greg's responsibilities today. Another thing that I have, kind of old business, we had in the past traditionally held ceremonies at our banquet, giving out certificates of membership and so forth. That's kind of slid in the last few years, and I made an attempt to catch up with that, and I want to reprise that tradition. And what I've done is I've printed up a bunch of certificates of those that I know are relatively newer members and have not received their certificate. And as I had requested, I think it was last or the meeting before, if you have not received their certificate and would want me to print one up for you, let me know, give you particulars. If you need a replacement, same thing. So some of these names are new people that I'm not that familiar with, and so I will just call out the name, and if you're here, I will distribute it. I don't think Mike Regis is here today. He was a new member as of last month. Joseph Ficklin, again, not here. Warren, here. This is for you. Suitable naming. Don. No, Don's. No. Where's Don? I thought I saw him earlier. All righty. How about Rob Hinkie? Holy moly, nobody's getting anything today. How about John Jones? There you go. And Al, I have one for you too.
Yes, sir.
Like I said, traditionally we gave these out at the banquet, but since we haven't had a banquet for a couple of years or so, things have kind of slid. To try and get things back in order. Mike? No, Mike. Oh, there you go. Eric? Not here. And Butch? Did I give you one already?
Very nice.
Favorite.
Impressive. Very nice.
Have an extra here. Put one in the bathroom.
Nice. Good idea.
All righty. So like I said, get me the information, and you too can be the proud owner of a frameable certificate, just like this one. Well, with your name on it, of course. Okay, another thing I want to get back to, and this will be kind of a preview of what I want to start next month. We had this Modeler of the Month deal going on, where it was a kind of a self expose of the modelers here at the club, and we put this in the taco stand for display. We don't have to call it Modeler of the Month anymore, maybe just a modeler showcase or something. And we periodically will then put someone's picture and frame at the, and it's nice. It gives people an opportunity to know who you are, and us too. You know, oftentimes, I don't know what you did for a living or who you are, for that matter, other than your base here every month. But in the meantime, I will be restarting this program, and there's a few on the list and some new people that we haven't gotten to yet. So, and then of course here, I never did give you yours. You can dispense with it as you wish. Where are you, Sean? Oh, you're back here somewhere. Yeah, yeah. So that's another thing we'll start back up with. Let me see, where are we? Any other old business, anything we talked about before?
Yes,
Yeah, go ahead.
this is a minor thing, but Tom, I think you had asked to find Alan Fraser's spouse. Is that correct? I think it was Tom Ruggiero.
Yeah, well, what I asked for is someone was trying to track down
The 50 ships.
the 50 ships, yeah.
And I have started that. I've found that all of my information is expired. She's somewhere else, and I can't find anybody who knows where his wife is, but she would, I guess, be the best source for information. And I think I'm getting close to getting to it. I just wanted you to know I have not forgotten.
I appreciate that. Thank you.
Sure.
Hey, Tom,
Yeah,
can you enlighten me a little bit on this 50 ships? You don't mind?
excuse me?
Can you enlighten me and some other guys in the room about this 50 ships?
Oh, yeah. So Randy Biddle, he is doing some sort of work, whatever, and he's looking for a collection of 50 ship models that were built by one of the founders of the Nautical Research Guild. And they were originally given to the New Jersey Historical Society, and supposedly they were cataloged by Alan Fraser many years ago when he was curator in the Newark Museum. And he contacted the New Jersey Historical Society, and nobody knows where the ships are. So we tried several places. Alan used to be a member of Ship Model Society of New Jersey, at that time Ship Model Society in Northern New Jersey. I talked to two of our most senior members who are still around, and neither one of them remembered the model. And then I figured, well, since Alan knew of this collection, maybe he had something in his files. This is just, we're looking. Randy, I told Randy that, I'd ask around and that we'd look, but we weren't holding out too much hope that we'd actually find it. It's just sort of weird that an entire collection of 50 model ships just sort of disappeared.
Okay, well, thank you. Appreciate
Mm-hmm.
it. All righty. Next item I have here is the IPMS show coming up on February 25th. This is the big annual event that we've always been part of, well, at least for the last 10 years or more. I don't know, it's been a while. And it's always been a good showcase for us to go out and, show who we are and, show the flag and compete in some instances. Do you have any more on this, Ryland?
No, just that we have our normal table set up. We will have about probably 4 tables. And so we normally get there around 8:30 and just, hopefully some of us will put models into the show for judging and competition. There is a wooden ship model class in addition to all the other maritime classes for plastic, being power, sail, submarines, in the different scales. I think one scale is 1/350th and over, and the other one is smaller than 1/350th. And it's a fun day. Normally we have a really good turnout. I'd say 15 to 20 people normally turn out. There are, I think, 75 vendors, and you can find just about anything you wanted, whether it be paint, kits, it's just, you know, anybody selling, you know, a lot of people sell down their collections and, you know, it's just a fun day to try to go and look and see what they have. And who knows, I know a lot of us have picked up stuff. I think Tim got his PT boat from, one of the vendors there, but.
Most of my blue jacket.
Blue jacket, yeah. But they also have lots of paints and supplies and the latest in the airbrushing, brushes, things like that. So it's a good show. It's one of the biggest regional shows on the East Coast, and it's just a fun day for everybody. But we hope that the Hampton Roads Ship Model Society will be well represented. And in addition, they got the raffles too. I forgot about that. And, you can buy raffle tickets, and they got some really nice kits that the manufacturers have donated. So it's just a fun day, and we've always had a good time, and hope that, and I'll be sending out emails reminding everybody of this too. So,
Put Saturday, February 25th on the calendar, and we'll look forward to seeing you there.
it's at the Richmond Raceway, complex.
Yeah, it's easy to get to, very easy. Once again, this year I've been tagged to be the chief nautical judge. So I'll be relying on a couple of our members to be such good judges to look over all the nautical models that are exhibited. We can talk when we get to the event.
In addition, the Washington Ship Model Society will be there too. They'll also, they always sit up beside us. And, it's just a good chance to get together and see everybody again.
All righty. Any questions on the IPMS thing? John, do you have any further on brochures?
I have the new one, I just have to call it there.
Okay. Okay. Very good. We will put that on the done list. Any other old business? I remember what Greg talked about last time. When we were up at the Cabin Fever, we had a horrible time trying to pipe in and disrupt the meeting. I think we were probably successful nonetheless. All right, moving on to new business. I have a request from a friend of mine who has acquired, I'm not sure what the backstory is on these models. These are two, they appear to be kind of rough models. I think they're souvenir type models, and he was looking for someone to possibly restore them. I said, I'll pass the word along, but did not give him any promises. But here's a kind of a picture of the two. Pass that around. Like I said, they appear to be possibly souvenir style models as opposed to accurate. Yeah, but all righty. So that's that. I do want to acknowledge John's effort on the new log, the look of it. I think it's fantastic.
Absolutely.
Never been seen since I've been here anyway. I've just never seen it, the scope of them, and I think it's great.
Get that part game, some of these other clubs out there have some really good newsletters. You need to be up there with them.
Well, kudos to you anyway.
There's always the plea for articles.
Okay. Was there anything that you wanted to add about the taco stand? There was some brief conversation we had. Is there anything that you want to make public, or really an internal thing?
Most of it's internal.
Okay.
There is probably one thing that might want a little bit of an outlay. There's been a request made to get a wood fence for the micro bandsaw. So since that would require an outlay.
You know what?
Rip fence. Micro bandsaw.
$25. so that Mike can.
The micro bandsaw that we have in the taco stand, one of the members that works in there was asked if we could get a rib fence attachment for it, for cutting wood. And so since that would require an outlay from the club, bringing it up as new business. Yeah,
About $25 maximum.
we're looking at 25 plus shipping.
So moved.
All righty. All right, all in favor? All right, got a rib fence. Picnic plans. Right.
Okay, well, yeah, the picnic is scheduled for September 9th. I see that it was already on the schedule of events, and I have secured a reservation for that date, the same shelter, shelter number 10. And so it's pretty much in the works, and we really won't get really going and planning wise until July and August, but we are scheduled for September the 9th. It will replace our September meeting, and again, it's be held at the Newport News Park, so looking forward to that.
There was some, I don't know if it was tongue-in-cheek suggestion that we have the auction with the picnic. Is there any thought on that? I'd like that, yes. I mean, it might, I mean, it would create a logistics nightmare for those that have the parts.
How much the wife would stand for?
Well,
That's it. I may leave my wife at home.
Yeah. We would have to change it to the stag.
But you know, the plus side of that might be you attract more people to the picnic. Not with a picnic, stay in the auction.
That's the key.
You know, so I don't know, there's pros and cons to that concept. I know it was thrown around briefly at some past meeting. But it may have been just fun. All right.
Wait, well,
Yeah.
I just looked on my calendar, put the picnic on there and discovered there's a potential conflict. The National Maritime Historical Society is having their annual conference that weekend here in the museum. I don't know how many people might be interested in that or not, but
Saturday and Sunday.
yes, the whole weekend. I think it's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday.
Okay, that's a good point. I was not aware of that.
Well, neither will that second.
Okay, just a quick plea. Does anyone know where the banner is? Is it in the stand?
It was in the stand last time I saw it rolled up, but haven't paid much
I
attention.
don't know, maybe. I mean, we've got plenty of time before the IPMS show. I'm just trying to locate.
Didn't have it.
I forgot to ask him.
I'll look under the cubby under the display case, see if it's under there. I don't know if it's in the corner. I'll look.
Yeah. All right. Well, we just want to lay our hands on it in the next couple of weeks or so. All righty.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Is anyone here a member of the National Maritime Historical Society? No. You are? Anybody else? Just wondering. I have another question, Gene.
Yeah.
If these are restored, what is his aim for them? Does he want them just as decoration, or are they going somewhere?
He was a little vague. No, they're not going anywhere. They're his. They're in his house. He just wants them to be presentable. And judging from the hall, it looks to be kind of a,
Yeah. They make them by the yard in Spain, and you get them for like $15. These are more complex than most of the ones I've done, but
yeah. But I see him every week or so, and he just kind of popped that up and said, would anyone be interested? So I'm just forwarding that along to, if someone might not, then he can deal with that.
I'll put that up on video.
I think
Online people see it.
Yeah.
the only contingency I have is time, because I'm like 3 behind.
I have no idea what kind of budget he has or
Okay.
what he he
Can you
has-
put him in touch with me or vice versa, whatever?
Yeah, I can do that.
I figured out a little while ago, the donations that model owners have made to the museum when I
Mhm.
restored their models, and then you make a discretionary donation to the general fund of the museum at the conclusion, has exceeded $21,000 now.
All right, very good. I want to also acknowledge, I think a couple of meetings ago, discussed the request from the Mariners for having Christmas ornaments made by us to have on display for sale in the gift shop. I think it's a great idea. And John and I have already talked over some ideas. John Good, apparently, I think last month, kind of put out a couple of ideas that he had. And this is something that, over the course of the next several months or more, can figure out if we wanted to do it on an individual basis or collaborate on a more cohesive club, something that we could represent the club to. So that's a subject that we can open up and start talking about in the next, like I said, next couple of months or so, and I'll bring it back up because if we do want to do something, and the earlier we get it done, the better it will be. We can present to them, and I'm not even sure what the unit number it is that they are looking for, or are they just looking for a couple, a few, 150? I don't know.
No, it was a brief conversation. And I told him now that you mentioned it in here, see whether it was something that you'd like to do. Again, you'd have to get back to them to work out some real details about how many they might want and price points, all kinds of things.
Right. All righty.
Because if the idea falls flat in here, there's no sense in pursuing it.
Yeah.
That was that.
All righty. Well, put it in your cap, and we'll talk about it again next month, and maybe start getting serious about on ideas. Think about what you'd like to do. I mean, for example, since I do a lot of photo etching, something of that nature, with maybe a picture on it of some sort, our logo or a name on it, Christmas or holiday themes, things like that. If everyone's familiar with the White House collection of trinkets, ornaments that they put out, something like that. Maybe we could even design something among the club and have a different theme every year, kind of following in that tradition. So have one product that we can give to the Mariners and have it continue year after year. So, I mean, something like that, something simple.
The museum did that for probably 15 years or more and put out a different photo etched brass ornament every year, all different. Some had some paint on them, most were just plain brass, and they were very well received. They've stopped doing it probably for the last 8 or 9 years, but I think, like I can envision our logo just in photo etched brass. I think that'd be very desirable.
I've already got the artwork.
Okay. I say do it.
So anyways, that's an idea, and I think we should continue with that. Everyone obviously is aware, if you've read your email, about the MacArthur's Museum's request for models for an exhibit that they are attempting to put together for September. I contacted Mr. Thornton. He was not in the office. I'm expecting a call back from him on exactly what it is that he had a pretty specific list of models, if everyone had read it. But considering what the supply is around town, he may very well amend his plans. Certainly when he sees the scope of the models that I'm familiar with. So we may not have enough room.
Ships, tanks.
the theme, if you've not read the email, I have a copy of it here. It's basically a themed around prisoner of war, Allied camps in the Philippines, Bataan, vessels and things that may have served in the area or have a personal connection to it. Definitely World War II era vessels. So when I find out more about it, you know, in the club, there's probably only a handful of people that deal in probably that era of models. So the pool is fairly shallow in that regard. But you know, considering the alternatives, well, that's why he's reaching out to us, because he's heard of us, I guess. So very good. I'll let you know next month if I find out anything further. Let me see. Have we totally? Yeah, go ahead.
I've got one thing I want to bring up. The Northeast Joint Clubs Conference is going to be held Saturday, April the 29th. And this is the 40th annual conference. It'll be at the Port and Starboard Convention Center in New London, Connecticut. And I've been going up there since 2010. I know several others. I think Gene's been up there. Dave Chelmo, Hines and Henry have been up there several times. And it's really a good show. And I will be sending more information, but the registration is now open. And they're looking for people to bring in their models. I know sometimes the model count approaches 100. And it's just a fun day to be up there. When I go up, I usually get up there around Thursday night, and then Friday I'll go over to Mystic Seaport. There's a lot of places to see up there, but Mystic, Connecticut is almost next door to New London, and it's just a fun time. And then they will get together Friday night, Saturday they have the show, and then we'll head on back after the show. But it's a fun time, so I just want to let everybody know that the registration is open, and it's set up that if you register before the 15th of March, it's $45, and then if you register before the conference after the 15th of March, it's $50, and it's also $55 at the door. But if you just want to come in and look at the models, I think they will charge $10 for that. But if you register for the conference, that includes a meal, and usually they have 2 to 4 seminars on different modeling techniques. I know Ron did one on sales, and Ron is, I know has had a couple, I believe, best in show models, and so again, it's a fun time to be there. But I will be sending the information out on that.
Okay, one last item. Have we totally given up on a banquet for this year? Any desire among the group to start looking for something like that?
Expensive.
Yeah. All righty then.
Gene, I have one
Go
request.
ahead.
I have one request.
Yes.
I don't know if it's new business, but
Go
whatever.
ahead.
A friend of ours, member of the Ship Model Society in New Jersey, has a stern wheeler that he's donating to the Merchant Marine Academy. And he built it a long, long time ago. And he needs an appraisal for it. It was originally appraised by Alan Frazier and the Mariners Museum many, many years ago. And he would like an updated appraisal. Is there anybody at the Mariners Museum that does appraisals?
Well, I'm surprised that the Mariners Museum appraised it the first time. It's kind of against policy, Tom. If I can see what I can find
Yeah,
out.
well, it was appraised by Alan Frazier. And what happened was is that I don't know if the appraisal was documented correctly or whatever, but he's donating it to the Merchant Marine Academy. He's a graduate of Merchant Marine Academy. And obviously he wants to, it's got to be IRS proof and et cetera, et cetera. And I gave him an appraiser that I used for my models. And unfortunately, this particular person doesn't appraise RC models. What's interesting about this model is you could not tell that it's an RC model because you can't see anything RC about it. It's got a complete, fully accurate and piped steam plant, including the lagging on the boiler and all this other good stuff. And even though it's considered RC, it operates on butane. And you actually have it's driven by steam. It's a piston engine, and it's a piston engine driven by steam. The only thing is the fuel is butane instead of wood. So anyway, he would like this appraised. So whatever you find out would be appreciated.
I'll get back to you soon.
I appreciate it.
I'm afraid it's not going to be good. He's going down kind of a dark, rocky road if he wants a museum to appraise it.
Yeah, I know. Well, or if you happen to know somebody who does it, the person I gave him will appraise off of photographs, but he's like sailing ships and static models and that kind of thing. And this stern wheeler, I want to say it's 1/8" scale. So it's a pretty good size model. And I've seen it many, many times, although I've never seen it under steam. He did fire up the boiler one time, and it does move the paddle wheel, and it does move it at a scale speed. Actually, Mort's familiar with this model as well. So anyway, anything you could find out would be appreciated.
All right, sir.
Thank you.
What about the fellow up in the Boston area, Mr. Wall?
Yeah, that's who I'm talking about. Michael Wall declined to appraise it.
Fine, okay. All righty, anyone else online have any new business or anything to discuss at this point before we call it a show? All righty, well, we will take. You want to go straight into show and tell? Okay. All righty. Let's go ahead and start from the right and work our way across. Show and tell. That would be your right.
Right over there.
Far end.
I hate to go first.
Here, you want to cameras out.
It's been a long time since I've had a model that I could bring up and show you guys. But I've actually got to tell you, the retirement is a good thing. It gives you plenty of time to actually work on projects. Here it is. So this has been sitting in the museum taco model shop for several months now. Just a little bit more. This is a little known boat in the history of the Coast Guard. It started out life as a revenue cutter, and obviously as a revenue cutter, it was to deal with the rum running in the Prohibition era. It is a 100-foot long cutter, and then when the Coast Guard was formed, it was taken into the Coast Guard. They didn't like them very much. They got rid of them and replaced it with the more famous buck and a quarter, or the 125-foot class that everyone's familiar with. There were about 10 of these made, and as far as I'm concerned, their claim to fame is they built them to chase the rum runners, but they were so damn slow they couldn't catch anything. And so what they would do is the booze was coming in on schooners and sailing ships. They would anchor outside the 3-mile limit and then offload onto the speedboats, and run the booze ashore. So what they did with these guys was they just went out and parked next to the schooner and sort of ended the offloading. But I liked it. It was an interesting looking vessel. It had a really interesting profile and a real nice looking hull on it. And for what's 1925 or something like that, 23 they were built. But I liked it. But this is also another model that I'm showing off this plating technique that I kind of like. Is that when the hull is painted, plating is subtle enough that it's not jumping out and beating you over the head that I plated a model. And what it is it's paper strips. And I've mentioned that before on other models. And I had to establish what I thought was the plating pattern based on photographs and understanding how we're going to do shell plating. And then I put that on there. But it's now at a point where I can take it home and start to seal and finish the hull. And after that's done, we'll work on the fittings and then get it done. And then model out of it. Done with. All right. So now let's jump forward to year 2000, I guess. And this is another model that some of you have seen before from time to time. And it's had its on again, off again of the shelf history with me for many years. This is the tugboat Rachel Carson. Right? No, this is the tugboat Susan Moran. I'm getting confused. Rachel Carson was a whole nother thing.
Silent Spring.
Yeah, Silence of Springs, and it happened to be the name of the sailboat model built years ago. But anyway, this is a present-day tug operating over in Norfolk under contract with the naval base. And it's 100 foot long, and it's in 3/16 to the foot scale, where the one behind it is also 100 foot long, but it's in 1/4 inch to the foot scale, so you get an appreciation of the different scales and what you do. But in 2000, you can see how the hulls have changed drastically from what I guess would be the traditional tugboat hull shape. And then you get around to the backside, get back here to the stern, and you don't see a rudder. What you see are two, what they call Z drives, and they're steerable ducted propellers. And there's a left hand and a right hand prop under there. That was a fun little machining project for this model. The other thing of interest, I think, is, and Gene helped me with this, I produced the artwork, and Gene photo etched the brass that I'm using for the pilot house. And it was neat, photo etched, and he cut this brass from both sides, and then depending on which way I needed to bend the brass, he etched me a bend line, which made bending these things to the angles that I needed really, really nice. And so this is where we stand at the moment. The other thing I wanted to point out is this was a little bit of an experiment for me. I wanted to build a model with no solder. And so everything has been put together. The similar type metals and stuff that are in there, it's all been epoxied together, and it's holding up very well. The ducted propellers are all aluminum, and of course the brass, the pilot house, and then bits, back here, the stacks and stuff, all just put together with epoxy, just to see how it works. It works well. So that's my show and tell.
When did you make those propellers?
When?
Uh-huh. I mean, in terms of years or months or weeks or
15
days.
years ago,
How many?
probably 15 years
I
ago.
remember when you brought those propellers to a meeting and you had gauged the clearance on the inside with your thumbnail.
Well, it's like, I always talk about gigs. Gigs are your friend. And here's one. The camera. Here's one here. And to illustrate your point, the clearance is right there. And yes, they're threaded on and you can take them off. But it was the jig that allowed me to assemble this part, and it also allowed me to assemble the propeller fit it. So that was
The metal,
a nice.
the metal work is incredible.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
Question, are the hulls, are they bread and butter construction?
The hull is bread and butter. This particular hull is from that poplar wood that I like to use, that I had a big supply of. And it's also a good example of a chine hull, as opposed to a regular faired hull, it's a smooth hull. And it has this nice, it's got this nice chine line right down there, hard chine. And you can see like that.
It's beautiful.
That's an example of modern shipbuilding.
What does that do for you?
It saves you a lot of money. It saves you a whole lot of money in having to shape things. If you ask the regular naval architect who's out skiing in Jackson Hole right now, he'd probably tell you the benefits of the chine in this application. And to me, as far as I'm concerned, being a shipbuilder, it saves a lot of money.
Saving money is a good thing.
And as a model maker, you don't have to make templates when you carve that hull. There's a whole process that I go through, and I don't use any templates, which is pretty neat, as opposed to the one behind it, which is a guard fair hull that had templates, but that's also in basswood, so different. My other wood of choice. Actually, I gave a demonstration on carving a hull. I have part 2 of that demonstration, which I will, you put me on the list.
You got it.
Part 2 is how to do the chine hull. Sure, the next available one's fine.
All right, very good.
That's it.
Thank you. Stuart, I think you're up next.
Good.
All right, this is my completed model of the Greek bireme that I've been working on down in the TOC, model shop.
Thank you.
That's about a 9-month project down there. It's made from an Amati kit. It's about a 1:48 scale. The kit was a challenge. It's I may have mentioned this once before, but it had two sheets of drawings with very few comments on them, and the few that were there were in 3 languages: Italian, French, and in English. They made up for that though with the instruction book. They didn't have one. Zero. And the plans did not have any sections of the hull except in the midships here, which is pretty simple. The stern and the bow are fairly complicated. And the only thing that saved it was a lot of photographs. You had to look at the photographs and say, that's must be done this way. The 2 challenges on this were bending the wood. Once you have done the bending on this, you've done 90% of the work. The other challenge is 44 oars have to be built individually. That was alone for 2 days' work. And they learned a new technique I hadn't done before, and that was making that eye. That eye as a decal, which I had to make myself. It worked out very well.
Yep.
The sail is silk span. I'm not sure whether it would look better like that or furled. If I decide I don't like it that way, I can always furl it.
That's the way it is.
Kind of odd having the oars out and the sail at the same time, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
wind is
Yeah,
Not
it
if the
would
wind
be
is
kind
blowing.
of different. You might have them sticking out
Yeah.
straight. You'll also note, if you look at the underside of this, that the bottom of it is very, very smooth, looks more like a canoe. Which means if you don't have the wind dead astern, you're going sideways.
Right.
Oh, that's a very crude sailing arrangement, to say the least.
She's
The
beautiful.
kids' calls were, no fancy cradle to put the thing in, but if you put it in the cradle, you miss the fact that the bottom is clear, it's smooth. But at any rate, there it is. It's going to go back in the display case for a while until somebody wants to put something else in there.
Very good. Well,
Very, very nice.
all right, I brought along a couple of my whale boats that I've built for this never-ending Olympia project. Here are 3 of the whale boats that were carried aboard. Again, it was using the same technique I illustrated once before about casting the hull and then building it from the outside in backwards. It's primarily plastic strip, with a cast resin hull, some wood, photo etched gratings, and then of course the forelocks are photo etched. So this represents the end of the boats. So now I can go back to the main structure and get them. Also brought along a few of the accommodation ladders that will be fixed once the boat is finished. It's going to be a waterline model in the water, so I really can't put those on until last, so that they can interface with the water. I figure out how to do that. Other than that, that's it for show and tell. Anybody online have anything to add to show and tell today?
Yeah, I've got for you.
Yeah. Oh, are there? Okay, I'm sorry.
Well,
Who's
maybe
next?
before,
Come on up.
maybe before we move on, I'd just like to ask how he molded the hull for those ship's boats.
Okay, if I guess you missed the that little talk I did a few months ago.
I'm afraid.
Essentially, what I did is I produced a pattern, a wooden plug of the boat. I then made a rubber mold of the plug, and then to cast it, I pour in a 2-part urethane resin. But then rather than fill the mold to produce a solid, what I'll do is I'll pour it in and then pour out the resin as it starts to gel, kind of a slip mold technique that potters use.
Mhm.
And if you get it right, you will then end up with a very thin shell of cured urethane resin. And then from there, with the thin shell, I'll then lay in a keel and then put in the ribs and build the interior to flesh it out from there. So that's essentially that's it. Rather than build it from the inside out, traditionally, I'll just do it the other way around.
Yeah,
My philosophy on that is the means justifies the end. You know, I mean, if it looks right, for all intents and purposes, it's right. I mean, you know, if you're a wood ship builder, you're probably more attuned to the traditional wood, practices of building. Well, Greg, for example, you know, right down to the rivets, you know, how he fashioned the rivets. I'll fake it. It looks right, you know, it'll serve my purpose. But that's just one facet, you know. I mean, there's so many different facets to modeling that that's just my take on it. But that's generally that's typically how I make those little boats. Since I had 18 of them to make, there was no way I was going to make them all up individually. And as far as the ribbing, I mean, we're talking about a 1 millimeter size, maybe 1.5 millimeters rib sizes. That would be very difficult to achieve in wood, considering the grain of wood and stuff. So that's why I used styrene plastic for that to simulate at that scale, this is 1/4 inch scale, by the way.
well, thank you.
Well, plastic paint on styrene or what?
Oh, whatever I have on hand. I'll use acrylic paints.
Will that stick to it? It's not gonna break or peel or anything?
No. I usually use an enamel kind of primer on it. You know, basically it's Ace Hardware primer, and then everything will stick to that. I mean, just, you know, if you use acrylic or if you use True Colors acetone-based paint, just make sure that they're cured before you put something else over it. And I keep forgetting the old adage of what paints you can put over what.
Leah,
Yeah, or something like that. Yeah.
lacquer, enamel, and then acrylic. I'm trying to think of the name of it. One of the acrylics makes a really nice primer that goes on with airbrush, and
Right.
I used it on my tiny little 20 millimeter guns. Works quite well.
Yeah. On those 3D printed, they kind of recommend an acrylic paint. That seems to work very well with that.
It's a
Okay.
Badger. It's a Badger company. I think it's called. I use that primer. It's called Stylix or Stylus primer.
That sounds right, John. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's airbrush ready.
Or Duplicolor automotive primer works really well.
Yeah.
And it comes out, there's a thick version of it that you can use for the whole plating straights.
Yeah.
It'll smooth when it dries.
All right, John.
Well,
come on
just,
up and
if I could just
share
say one
what you
more,
got.
could I just say one more comment
Yes.
about those boats? I like this idea and I'm gonna try it next time. I've built a wooden shape of a boat and then use vacuum forming. And that works pretty good, except that you get a wrinkle right at the bow. Somehow I can't figure out how to get it to fold over that way without a wrinkle. So this looks like you can get a good hull without any wrinkle that you have to patch up. So thank you for the idea.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you can build in all the details you want right into the pattern, and then it's all captured faithfully in the mold.
Great.
All righty, John.
John, I'm a ship modeler.
Hello, John.
How many years have you been a ship model?
25 years on the same ship model. It's not funny. This presentation is very short and it's in 2 parts. One part, most of you won't care about, so I won't spend a lot of time on it, but I'd like to kind of segue from Gene's talk about his models there of the boats and say that there's yet another way. We're on the cusp of a change in how we use model materials and stuff. 3D printing would take care of doing every one of those boats in one pass, including all the voids inside. Because of the way the print is laid down in very thin strips, you can actually print the seats, as part of the model, and you'll have the void underneath just as though you did it in multiple pieces. I'm not there yet, but what I've got here is, you can see it later. Those of you who care, these are 1/350th 20 millimeter Oerlikon guns that are awesome, but they're tiny. So if you're modeling World War II era ships in 1/350th or 1/200th, this will save you an enormous amount of time. And I am of the same philosophy as Gene, in the sense that if I can find a better way to do the stuff someone else can do better than me, I will use it. The rest of my time, the other 21 years will be spent on building the ship model itself. You'll see there's some life rafts here if you care. And those are specifically for USS Hornet, which you know is my tar baby. And it's amazing that a particular company makes the life raft clusters for one ship model in one scale. But that's the way things are nowadays. Once you do the drawing, you got 100,000 of them if you want, or 20. There is one manufacturer that uses a 3D printer to make blocks and tackle, well, blocks, that you might look into. It's a company called Model Monkey, and they do model parts mostly for 1/350th and 1/200th, but they have a much broader scope than that. I don't own stock in any of these companies, and I just focus your attention. It may work for what you're trying to do, and it may not. But the blocks are definitely in different scales, and they're all frickin' identical. And I know what that must be like to carve those buggers. The second half of really what I wanted to bring out is I do a lot of reading on naval history in particular. My job, I got involved in that for 40 years in civil service, and now I still find it fascinating. I have a recommendation of a book here, Neptune's Inferno.
Mhm.
And what sets this book apart of most of the books I've read is this guy's a great writer. I mean, he's very descriptive. You can just see everything in your head. But he goes one step further than many authors that I've seen. This is a pivotal time in our history in the Pacific, the battle for Guadalcanal. And there were a lot of things that pivoted at that point in time. We started driving the Japanese back, sure, everybody knows that. But it's also for naval gunnery, it's a pivot point where the US Navy shifts over to radar-controlled gunnery. And they also have some highly automated systems on some of the ships, but not all of them, and various kinds of radar, search radar and fire control radar. And he's very good at winding us through how these things evolved and why this ship did what it did and maybe should have done this. It's a transition period, and I find it really interesting. I put together a briefing.
Who's the author?
Warren Fisher.
I think I did the last of the Tin Cancer.
Yes, and also The Fleet Ebb Tide. It's another one of those. Yep, absolutely.
Incredible author.
Dead now.
Yeah. Yeah, he's good. He's very good.
Unfortunately, the poor man passed away at 59 years old, about 2 years ago. Unfortunately.
Yeah, great book, especially because if you want to understand, if you're like me, you look at something and say, why does it look like that? And what are they trying to do? I'm an engineer by training, so that's the way I look at things. I will have these at my table over here if you want to.
Model Monkey, I think, makes stuff for Shapeways too. But I tried to get on Model Monkey to get anchors for C1 I'm building, and I couldn't find a way to order them. I could put them in my cart, but I couldn't.
There are two Model Monkey websites. It's the same guy. The Shapeways are the older type of string trimmer deposition printers. And you see a lot of striation. If there's a flat plate on the side of the ship, you'll see the striations from the printer.
Yeah.
The second kind of 3D printing is resin printing. And he's got a website that's just the resin printers, and it's not Shapeways.
Okay.
But it's Model-Monkey.
Okay.
Steve Larson.
I got the 20 millimeters for the C1 I'm working on in the model shop from Shapeways, and these are 3/50th. I got 1/96, and they're so delicate that the shoulder rests had come off a couple of them in shipping.
Well, the resin is also stronger.
Yeah.
But the older stuff, especially if it sits around unfinished and unpainted, in my experience, it starts to frost up. And it also starts to show the striations more.
Yeah.
It doesn't look good. And when you get in there and try and sand it smooth, you say, why am I doing this now? Especially with resin printed versions of the same guns. Or they also have stud link chain available.
I think I've seen those. You might have brought some in before.
I know that they're available for those of us that need stud link chain. For
You hold those up to the camera so that people online can see them?
20% that care. This is kind of the best version there. And that's exactly what they look like. They're just tiny.
Okay, that's, I recognize that.
I just searched for Model Monkey and it dumped me onto Shapeways. But it does have a list, it does have a layout of all kinds of different equipment in various scales.
Yeah.
What you want is model-monkey.
Right.
That's the resin stuff.
Okay. All right, let me do that.
It's in the, okay, yeah, probably not.
As a comment about Model Monkey, I mean, he does excellent work. In fact, he's the one that printed the deck chairs for my United States and all of the stanchions for my current Olympia project. So
yeah,
he had in the past taken, well, it wasn't really commission work, but you know, special off, but he's since backed away from that. So
These are not Model Monkey. This is a different new company called Bunker Studio. They have a U.S. distributor, and I'm not sure if it's from Poland or Ukraine, but you know, it's not Chinese. Put it that way.
I presume those are the resin.
These are the resin,
Right.
and you're welcome to look at it when I sit down and shut up.
You'll find in this month's logbook photos of the Ehrlicher 20 millimeters in 196 scale. I talked about them month before last, but I had no pictures, so I put the pictures in this month. So you see those in there, and they are really, I mean, the detail is unbelievable.
You almost hate to paint them because you'll ruin them.
Well, I know. I'm airbrushing them all gray and then using a very fine brush to put in the highlights of darker barrels and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yes, in reference to 3D printing or 3D resin. How much computer knowledge and skills do you have to have?
A fair amount. There are, however, books like this, about that size and twice as big, that step you through the beginner's process. The short answer to your question is there's several steps to do this. And one of them is the rendering of what it is you're going to build. And then the printer has its own software that slices the 3D picture into very thin slices, and it prints them one slice at a time.
So you'll have the July presentation on all of this?
I thought it was on.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, we've got John scheduled for May 13th. It's your choice, my
Yeah,
friend.
that's interesting. John, I'm a shipment. I'm used to that shit. But, it's going to be on gunnery control, naval gunfire. How about that? That way I don't have to send you an email.
All right. You gotta have a classy name though, John.
All right, thank you, John.
Yep, thank you.
All right.
My name's also John, and I'm a model shipbuilder, so I got two Johns, no waiting. I'm a retired tin can sailor. I'm not one of the architects, but I sure got to drive some of the ships that you guys built. The one that my favorite was one called the Josephus Daniels. March of 1980, we had 53-foot seas off of coast of North Carolina, and we made it home. We lost the sonar dome, but you guys built good ships, and I thank you for that. After my 20 years as a tin can driver, I did 25 more trying to teach middle school special education, and I'm here to tell you that Beirut was actually quieter than the seventh grade cafeteria. What I wanted to show you was something, I'm a brand new guy with this model shipbuilding. I had to take a couple months off because of some health issues that I had, colon cancer. But so what I want to show you is that I'm trying to collect stuff for my constitution. And I had a heck of a time going through trying to figure out how to do the trail board on the county. And I've got a little bit better view of what that's going to look like and how to build it. But something that's really kind of plagued me was the netting on the bulwarks of the ship, and I couldn't figure out where to get it. And I've gone to all the fabric shops with my wife, and she knows this stuff. Couldn't find anything until I went to Hobby Lobby, and I found this. This stuff is netting that you can use in any of the ships that need it for the bulwarks or for the bow or anything else, and it's really good. It's $4 for this entire reel here, and there's I don't know how much is on it. I can't read that well, that close. But there's a good bit on it. This matches perfectly with what the scale of the ships that we're building. So go to Hobby Lobby and ask for this stuff. It's a ribbon and it's a mesh and it's a perfect scale. All right. So if you guys want to see this and pass it around, I would highly recommend you get that. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Are you carving your trail boards in Big Head?
I'm going to be trying to do that right now. I'm trying to get through the Morgan. And once I do that, I'm going to start either on the Siren or on Connie. I want to try to get the Connie done before, because it's going to take me years to build that thing.
John, Harbor Freight has a little battery-powered carving tool.
Yes, sir.
That I've found works pretty well. If you're working with anything up to, let's say, a basswood,
Yeah.
it doesn't work quite so well on holly or that sort of thing. Boxwood, but it works very well on basswood, and it has a very fine tip, so you can do some bas relief with it.
Please do take a look at this this netting they've got, because it's perfect. It's the exact right replica of what I need. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Can you show that
Thanks,
netting for us guys? The remote guys?
Yeah.
Close up of the netting, please.
Thanks.
Which constitution are you planning on building?
Model ship waist. It's 1:76 scale.
Right.
Thanks. Neat.
Thank you.
The label.
It is.
Richard 21. Thank you very much.
See stuff.
There you go.
Small ones.
Big bottle with
Yes, sir.
Anything else? Anyone else?
I have a
Nobody
couple.
Stop, come on up.
Love you, Gene. There's not much room here at the table.
What happened to the other one?
The other one's sitting on the bench still. So, let's see if I can. So this is,
Let me get this stuff out of the way.
this is the Winchelsea kit from Siren, 1/4 scale. I'm building it in cherry. So the keel, the head of the knee, all of that is cherry. I'm probably going to plank it in maple like I did Siren. I am doing this a little different. A couple things that I did. The Siren's technique was to do a simple box joint where the head of the knee comes into the keel. I've actually modeled it as the actual box joint. You can see the straight piece on that side. And the rest of the box joint on that end. I also did all of the splicing for the keel. It's an actual lap joint, and I did the same thing with the Alt's keel. I did a 60-degree angle in accordance with the builder's plans. Right now, I'm just going through the whole, all fairing it in preparation for putting in the gun port framing and then planking, but that'll be a long time because I've got to mill all of my planking strips, so I'm gonna still do that. I do, for those of you who do this type of construction, do recommend the method of the clamps. I just bought out almost all of Amazon's clamps. I also used some 2-inch or 2.5-inch flat corner plates. That worked extremely well on the Siren model. When I was fairing the hull, I probably broke most of the upper bulwark pieces. And this thing is amazingly strong, even just with the bowl clamps. It actually keeps everything very rigid. I did break 2, but I broke 2 because I didn't have the clamps on there and I was moving it around and broke it. But since I've had the clamps on there, I've hit them a few times because I'm a klutz when it comes to modeling. And I did not break any since I've had the clamping in there.
Was that your idea to put the clamps?
No, actually, Chuck in his build actually showed those. I probably have a little more of the L brackets than he did. I didn't have the bigger clamps boxes that I bought, so I bought more of the L clamps. They were very cheap at Lowe's, but it was his idea that I copied over. I wish I had seen that part of the build when I did Siren. It would have saved me a lot of
I've never seen it done that way, but it
works really well. And so, like I said, I'm trying to do this model a little different than the 20 or so, 30 or so builds that are on Nautical Research Guild's website. Although right now it's configured as Winchelsea, I'm most likely going to build this HMS Pearl. HMS Pearl was the sister ship of Winchelsea and was actually built a few years earlier than Winchelsea was. It also served in the American Revolutionary War, captured a lot of Continental ships, served in most of the main battles of the Continental War. It also served in the French Revolutionary War as well. And I found online several paintings that a captain had done, had commissioned based on a battle that he won against a Spanish frigate. So I have a few details based on the paintings to go by. It's going to largely depend on my carving skills to carve the figurehead. That's going to be the tricky piece because it is a full-length female holding forth a pearl, and I'm not sure my carving skills will get there. So we'll see. I'm contemplating the possibility of doing, since I did 3D modeling as a designer, I'm thinking about trying to maybe do that and resin print it, or I might give this particular one a sex change and convert it into a female figurehead.
Did you carve that one, John?
I did not. This Sirens sells them as a resin.
Okay.
I don't know if it's a 3D printed resin or if it's just a resin pour, but my wife for Christmas bought me the resin. But this is going to be quite a long project. I'm still doing Siren, but I ran into a roadblock with how to present the port covers. And so like when I had difficulty with the coppering, I took a break from it and then went back to it. I'll be doing the same thing. So in the meantime, I'm doing this portion of it. And once I get to the point where I have to mill a bunch of strips, I'll probably go right back to it.
You're gonna ricket this thing?
I am prepping it to do so. But as you can see, this is quite a large model to begin with. In this environment, it doesn't look so huge, but in my office, it like dominates my office. So
Big as home.
again, trying to go my own way. I am seriously thinking about rigging it because nobody else has done that. But it would be, this is a little over 3 feet. We're talking a 5 to 6 foot model. We're talking new room to the house like Gene and his kids or his models,
Right.
kind of thing. And I'm not sure the wife will be up for that. So,
Just threatened to put it in the living room.
And she chooses the lesser of all evils, right?
So,
Lorenzo is building that model also.
sorry?
Joe Lorenzo is building that model.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
he's on the site right here.
Once you get to 19th century ships, quarter-inch scale becomes a little dangerous.
Mm.
Easier to work with.
Yes, it's definitely a lot easier. You know, I was mentioning to somebody else before the meeting that, you know, in Siren, everything I do on Siren, I'm wearing magnification to be
Yep.
able to work on it. So far for this particular build, I really haven't had to use it much. So.
I don't know your name.
Without a doubt.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your name. I'm Joe Lorenzo. What is your name?
Hi, Joe. I'm Sean Maloon.
You might want to mic those bulkheads. Mine are 235. The drawing is a quarter inch. You want to be a little careful in the transom with the filler pieces to line up the registration for the transom frames. I fell in a sinkhole because of the difference, and I ended up having to rebuild the transom, but that's just a heads up when you get there.
I appreciate
What I ended up doing was actually adding a filler on one of the gun port cheeks, so it would be exactly as the drawing, because one of the bulkhead uprights actually forms the cheek of the gun port. So I added a tiny filler of appropriate material.
Yeah, I'm gonna do the same thing with the gun ports on this one that I did Siren. I'm actually gonna cut away the actual frame and put in a piece of, if I work in cherry or if I work in maple, again, the decision isn't quite there yet. But I'll frame out all of the gun ports with the same exact material instead of having the plywood show through is my intent, even though I'll be eventually painting it. I want to have the consistency of the same wood. But that was something I did on Siren and cut away a portion, a slight sliver, and put in like a 32nd of an inch veneer to show the same kind of wood.
Just start with checking the thickness of those that material. May save you some time.
Will do. Thank you for the input.
All right, thank you, Sean. Yeah, we still have some more in the room. And I'll send out.
Be real quick here. For a ship model, I've started since my daughter started crawling, my first daughter in 1989. So I bought 4 models at the auction and 1 on eBay, and I reached out to a couple of people here. Which one should I do first? Unanimous consensus was I should do the skipjack, and this far along. I was kind of disappointed at the hull cutouts of the kit. Quite a line. I'm really happy with the paint stain, water-based stain I got at Lowe's, and then I put an ultra flat in wax top coat on it, so that while I'm working on it, my fingerprints won't get everywhere. Slowly but surely.
Well, the Midwest is a good kit to get your teeth at the ship model.
You're the one who said do this one first. I was gonna do the longboat
I hope it was
first.
good advice.
So far, longboat was my first, what I thought I was gonna do first, but you and Greg and some other people said this one first.
It's looking nice.
Going for Midwest.
Very good. Anyone else in the house? All right, online, who has something to show us?
I got something.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Why not, I just finished up the Harley Burke just a couple of weeks ago. It's a 1/16 model. It's a blue jacket model. And as usual, it was a terrific kit. Really, really beautiful lines on this ship. And right next to it is one I built a little bit earlier. This is a Gearing class destroyer. And Blue Jacket actually has a series of 4. They have a 4-piper. They have a Fletcher class. And my intention is to build all 4 of them as a comparison. Both these ships, by the way, are the same scale. They're both 16th, 1/16. And something else I worked on here recently. One of my sons gave me a Lego Titanic kit. And it took a while to put together, but it is absolutely humongous. It's about 4 feet long.
Yeah, Legos.
And the last thing, I just have a very small ship. This is supposed to be the Liberty, and it's supposed to be a representation of some of the gunboats used, the American gunboats during the American Revolution. So it's just something to keep my hands busy until I get the next destroyer to build. And that's it.
All right, very good. Thank you. Good. All right, anybody else on the line? Tom or Bill or anyone? Or
Well, I'm rigging,
Go ahead.
I'm rigging the, wait a minute. I did the main, I'm doing my rigging on the Victory, as you can see. The main mast is complete. And that's the foremast. It's a lot of rigging. It just never ends. And that's where I'm at right now. And then I'm going to start the mizzen in another day or so. But it doesn't stop. It's one knot after another. And that's it. That's where, I'm sorry.
Can you step back a little bit so we see the bore of the model?
Yes.
Okay.
He's about 5 feet long.
I noticed your copper plating looks fabulous.
Thank you. It's the kit's copper. It's a nice kit. It really is. I mean, it's a Caldecraft, and I wouldn't. The hammocks are extra. I did some extra things. I made hammocks, and I opened up the decking, and I built the checkerboard floor and the dining tables and the master. I furnished the master's cabin, and I left a lot of the gun deck exposed. And it's almost 4 years. March will be 4 years that I'm working on her. And hopefully she'll be finished a couple of more months. And that's where we're at right now. Thank you.
That's nice.
Thank
Hey,
you.
Mort, I'll
Yes.
load some of my spiders in my garage. They'll help you rig that thing real quick.
I'm short. I have to stand on a stool to get to some of it because the masts are so high. But we're moving along. It's one day at a time, as they say. That's the good news. You got to do a little bit every day. And it's like playing golf. Some days are better than others.
All right, who's next online? Tom, you have anything to share?
The Titanic's not in shape to show yet, but it's coming pretty far along. The question that I have for you folks, and since you got me to a Model Monkey, I found some good stuff already for Titanic. I'm building this for someone else. And frankly, if I got to buy something, he'll pay for it. So I'm looking at some really neat stuff that I could pick up. But what I'm having trouble finding is I have to make 5 engine telegraphs in 1-350, 3 binnacles in 1-350, and a whole bunch of cowl vents. And the binnacles and the engine telegraphs, they're not in the kit. Those are things that I'm going to add because you could see into the bridge. You can't see into the wheelhouse, but you could see into the bridge. The cowl vent castings are horrendous. And I've been thinking of any number of ways to fix that. And 3D printing has come to mind. So I'm looking at Shapeways to see if I can find something. And other things, I'm going to be scratch building. For example, the capstans are very clunkily cast. They're horrible castings, and they're way, way, way oversized. So since those are simple turnings, I'm going to turn those out of brass on my lathe. But hopefully next month I'll have something to show you, because right now I have everything all spread out all over my workbench, because I'm about ready to do some airbrushing of sub-assemblies.
Okay, can't wait to see it.
All right, thanks.
Thank you,
Anyone else?
Tom.
Ahmed? Nobody else? All right, well then that should take care of the show and tell. We'll take a few minutes break here, and Tim will set up for his presentation on photography. See you in a few.